You know what I love about growing purple peas? I can see them. Well, I've reached the tuck-in phase of plantings for the summer garden here. You know, where you go around and try to find places you haven't filled yet for all the extra plants you started. I have a load of peppers, eggplants, and broccoli that I still need to plant. Well, I guess I can just leave them as backups, but I want to plant them. I think I might try growing the broccoli in a bed that is partial shade. Actually, I'm going to try putting them under my blackberries. I've been curious about what all I can grow in that spot and also in my other shade spots. And since I have so much, I can afford to experiment and see what grows well in the blackberry bed and my other shade beds and what doesn't. I'm finding it hard to visualize where I can put plants around here. I still have all these garlic in the ground, but I know that as soon as it comes out, I'm going to want to have those spaces filled. I feel like I should pot up the broccoli into 1-gallon buckets. That way I can use that to fill in some of the gaps that are likely to emerge after I harvest the garlic. Yeah, actually, I'm going to fill in all the gaps I see now, and then I'll just pot up the rest of the seedlings. That's my plan. Well, that's like 100 plus pots or so. Is that too ambitious? I do have to start the fall garden seeds now as well. I'm growing some shelling beans this year, a variety called Flambeau. If you haven't guessed, I picked it for the look as much as for the production quality or the reported taste. I mean, I'm not much of a bean connoisseur, especially dried beans, so I have a hard time imagining they could actually be much different in tastes. Throw those comments down in the comment section telling me why I'm wrong about thinking about the taste of beans being pretty much all the same. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the taste and quality of dried shelling beans. Anyway, I still have a whole tray of 72 cells of bean plants to put in the ground. I was tempted to plant them around my blackberries and let them grow up the blackberry canes, but I don't think that they'll get enough sun there. I also think my blackberries are a premium crop. I don't want to mess with those blackberry production in any way. So I'm gonna put up a few stakes and kind of the typical tripod, a few bean poles, and that's how I'll do those. All right, back to tucking things in.
Well, here's what we planted this week. No seeds, but in the ground, hot biscuits amaranth, the edible amaranth, black sesame, corn, eggplants, and peppers.
Well, this year I got these mesh baggies that you can put over the fruit to protect them from bugs and birds. I'm actually surprised that I'm getting fruit on some of these trees that are their first year here. I planted them back in March as bare root trees, so that's pretty surprising to me. The variety that seems to really be taking off is called Arcane. Meanwhile, my 3-year-old trees are not putting much fruit on, which I assume is because of prior freezing and snow that we had in the late spring after the flowering happened. Anyway, I typically lose a lot of apples to things that bore into them. I've never grown pears before, but it looks like I'm going to get a crop, and I remember my dad's garden, pears would have similar kinds of damage, similar problems. I don't really want to be spraying anything on the fruit. I'm going to eat them. So I'm treating each developing fruit as being super precious, covering them with mesh bags designed to keep away the bugs and the birds. But now that I have a couple of trees with the bags on the fruit, I'm sitting with it a bit to see how I feel about it. And to be honest, my gut reaction is that I don't really like it. Remember, I garden for the look more than just for production. It's the same reason I don't put row cover over my veggies to keep out bugs. I really don't like the look. I want a garden that I can walk through and I can see and touch the plants. But maybe I should make an exception here for the apples and pears. After all, I don't really need to be touching the apples as they're growing. Well, a beautiful, well-trained tree with bright red or yellow fruit does look amazing. And a tree with just a bunch of mesh bags on it, well, less amazing. But we'll see what I think after living with this for a little while.
Well, this is what we harvested this week. The last of the spring radishes, the last of the spinach, maybe, still in the ground, we'll see, lettuce, kale, and it's time for garlic scapes.
There's a mole back here that's decided to displace my pumpkin plant. That's the second time that they've spit it out of the hole and left their mound.
Well, thanks for joining us. It would mean the world to me if you'd like and subscribe. And hey, we'll see you next time.